My friends were amazing. My family was amazing. During the crisis times. And then everything shifted the moment that Dan died. And instantly, I had people who made extraordinary effort. A friend of mine from New York, also a widow, I had been with her when her husband passed away. She immediately flew to my side and literally was there that day. She literally threw stuff in a bag, ran to the airport, and took the next flight and stayed with me. Found experience. Could not see people for those first few hours. I couldn't tell people. I really kept a vigil for myself and really took time right after Dan passed. And then in those early hours, I started by invitation. I could figure out who I needed to be around me, and there were several. But those first few days were really about Dan's best friends. Dan's best friends rallied all over the country. Within 24 hours, his best friend was at my house. Another one of his best friends flew in the very next day and drove me to Michigan. It deposited me with one of his other best friends who lived in Michigan. I mean, it was kind of like a passing of Jen. They kind of carried me down a conveyor belt towards this end, towards his service. I had someone participating as kind of like the cruise director, making sure that I had packed appropriately and what was I bringing to the funeral and what was I wearing? Did I have jewelry? Things of that nature. These were all Dan's best friends. And, I realized it was a profound thing seeing them all together. My husband lived in each of those people. One was a friend from early childhood through now. And his early childhood, like what I knew when I first met him, lived in that guy. Another friend of ours I met in second grade, and I think Dan met in maybe junior high or high school, but they were friends for years and years, probably our best couple friends. They stepped in immediately, and they had, he had so much of Dan's humor and so much of our adulthood and our couples memories together. Another one from college that kind of adopted me. He and his wife adopted me after Dan and I started seeing each other. He had like the whole college and music and adult life. And then a music friend had, Dan lived near and was best friends with for years and years and years. And all together, that was the most of my husband I would ever have on this earth again. And it was very interesting to me how within hours this council started to rise up. They started communicating. They'd never met each other before, not all of them. So, they started communicating together. They started coordinating about caring for me and making sure that I was taken care of. And in those first few days, I can't tell you the profound love and intimacy that I had with each of them. We were fused together in ways that I cannot even explain to people. And each of them came to me separately and with lifelong commitment to make sure that I was okay. And I ended up calling them Guy Council. They became my confidants on grand things. They checked in from time to time, but, before any major life decisions, I checked in with all of them. When I started dating my now husband, I checked in with them. Like, these were people I kept in the loop on all the major things. My girlfriends, my friends, they stepped up too, and they were helpful and filling in the gaps and showed up from Washington, D.C. and Tennessee and all over the place and did all kinds of things to support me through the crisis and through the aftermath. But after all was said and done, the service and everything and so forth, those women really stepped in. They called me every single day. They were my girl counsel. Have you eaten? Have you taken a shower? Did you work today? What are you doing? Who are you seeing? Who have you talked to? And I mean, every day for a year. And I just made a vow because I was so nervous about grief. I was so scared. People had me convinced that I just couldn't even judge my rational self. Did I even know my own mind? I was so fearful to trust a single thing that I just didn't know what to do. So I just made a vow to really open my life to them. And they really stepped in. And, there were things where they were like, Jen, I think you need to look at this. I think you need to think about this. And they kept track, and I could look at them and say, this is what I'm thinking, and I could get a gauge for whether or not that was a safe bet, or if it made sense, or if I was kind of off track, or what the case might be. But they made me feel sane. They reminded me that I could trust myself. They helped me look at things and really see. And I remember having many conversations with my friend Courtney and saying, listen, I just want to take a match and light a match to this whole thing. And she's like, you know what? That's a great idea. She never fought with me about it. She's like, that's a great idea, but we're not going to do that today. Let's think about that tomorrow. And, that got me through the day. It got me through the day. She didn't invalidate my thinking on that, because the truth was I ended up, basically taking a match to it. I didn't know what was going to happen, but it was shocking how fast my new life took over. And I ended up selling my home and moving across the country. I gave away about 95% of everything I owned and simplified my life entirely, and took my business and moved across the country. And it was the best decision for me, and it was the right thing to do. That old life was gone anyway, but all of that stems from the kind of profound support and intimacy from our closest friends. And for that, I'll be forever grateful. None of us are the same for having gone through that experience. And it was a profound, life-altering experience for sure. But one I think is so precious that I can't think of, I would never want to trade it. It was so sacred to be a witness to that kind of love. I didn't even know it was possible, really. Nobody I knew had ever seen friends behave like that, taking weeks off of work, driving me across the country, flying and driving me across the country, driving me back. No one had seen anyone do things like that. And it's real sacrificial love. And you realize, oh, this is truly the reflection of the love Dan put in the world. Dan invested in all these people, and that love came back. And it came back over and over and over. And it still rings true to this day. We will never be the same. We will never not be bonded. We are all fused in ways I could have never predicted. But what a beautiful legacy and what a gift that is to me. It is precious to me, and I'm so profoundly grateful to these people.